Well, since the killing of George Floyd, racial and social injustice has been at the forefront of our society, and that includes the sports world. I recently caught up with URI men's basketball coach David Cox, who tells me he experienced blatant and overt racial profiling from the police. We spoke about that and how he plans to lead his URI men's basketball team with everything going on. URI basketball coach David Cox says he has a lot of feelings right now.
Anger, frustration. I've witnessed this too many times, as has the rest of America. Obviously, I'm a black man. I'm 47 years old. I come from Washington, D.C. I've come from struggles. I've seen struggles.
Cox's native D.C. was one of the cities with major protests, and Cox himself is no stranger to racial profiling from police.
I've been on the front of a hot hood of a police car or my car several times in my lifetime. Several. So never arrested, never issued a ticket or a warning. But I can tell you that I've been on that hood several times, and so have many of my friends and family members and people who look like me.
As the leader of a team made up entirely of young black men, racism and social injustice is a conversation Cox has often with his Rams team.
This is much more than coaching, much bigger than X's and O's. I'm intimately involved in the lives of of young men, and I have an obligation and a responsibility to teach them, to help them to grow, but also to help them to understand exactly what the real world entails.
As for how to initiate change right now,
a degree of understanding. I just need you to understand my plight, my situation. That's all. That's what I need to happen first. So those conversations need to continue to take place.
Meanwhile, a former URI football player, Sean Antoine II, is making sure his home borough of Harlem, New York, is part of this change. He recently led a successful and peaceful protest in his hometown.
It's the United States of America.
Over 3,000 people came to a protest on a Saturday in June in Harlem, a peaceful demonstration led by Sean Antoine II.
Protest what's going on in the community as far as policing and racism ultimately, but also an opportunity to bring the community together so we could discuss what we want for the future of Harlem.
The 23-year-old was on campus at URI just a year ago, finishing up his degree in public relations. Now the filmmaker is a community leader looking for change.
People came from the community, the police were there, but they were in full support of the protest. And from what I heard from a lot of people, they felt as if the police were invisible.
Everyone in the Harlem community working together.
But what made you actually want to lead and not just be a bystander?
Yeah, I think so many times nowadays, nobody really wants to take on the social responsibility of taking things into their own hands. But for me and my colleagues that helped put it together with me, we were like, all right, we have to do something. It was a call to action for us.
And as his former coach at URI, Jim Fleming, praised his efforts in a letter to his team, Antoine says he's starting to see some change in the sports world.
When Jim Fleming or any other coach around the country asks their players, what do? This is kind of their call to action now. Now everybody's trying to take up more social responsibility.
In pro football, several players have spoken out about social and racial injustice, and that includes Patriot players. Patriot captain James White says the Patriots continue to have conversations about race, and it's spearheaded by their head coach, Bill Belichick.
Coach Belichick has an open mind, and he understands everything that's going on, and some people are upset. So he wanted to get a better grasp on things. We all want to get a better grasp on things. So it's very cool for him to, like I said, understand everything that's going on and how different players may feel differently. I'm sure we'll figure something out as a team. I'm not sure exactly what that'll be, but I'm sure guys will peaceful protest in some type of form or fashion.
And White says peaceful protests and having these conversations is important not only to the Patriots, but for society as a whole. I'm Yanni Caracas, Eyewitness News.